I promised you an update on our visit to Microsoft on December 3rd, 2025, and I'm going to give it to you. But before we dive into Copilot, let's start with a couple fun facts that caught my attention while I was down there. First, ChatGPT celebrated its third birthday last week. In under 2 months, ChatGPT went from 0 to 100 million users. That's faster than any platform in history. That's like going from GarageBand to global stadium tours in a week. Today, it's sitting at over 800 million active users each week. And like it or not, AI adoption isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Secondly, Microsoft's Redmond campus has a thermal energy center that is powered by geothermal wells. It heats and cools millions of square feet and cuts energy use by about half compared to traditional systems. It's not producing any extra power for the grid, but it's still a big sustainability win, and Microsoft wants to tell you all about it. All right, now let's talk about what we learned during our visit to Building 92. Building 92 is the visitor center, so it's designed to impress, and when you walk in, you're greeted by interactive exhibits, an Xbox Play area, a timeline of Microsoft's history, and a very pleasant woman behind the counter that issues you a badge. It feels a little like stepping into a museum and a showroom at the same time. There's even a gift shop where you can buy everything from a super nerdy Azure apparel to pillow-sized Minecraft axolotls. The campus itself is massive. There are tons of parking. It's spread out like a small city with walking trails and green spaces and modern architecture everywhere. You'll see people zipping around on bikes and shuttles because you do not want to walk the whole thing unless you're training for a marathon. And the sustainability features are front and center. That thermal energy center I mentioned earlier is part of that commitment, and you can feel that focus on innovation and responsibility throughout the campus. They don't talk about it, but there's even an underground network of access tunnels for delivery of food and other things like toilet paper to every building so that the above ground can stay clean and unobstructed. And it really feels that way. You can see the extraordinary amount of thought that went into designing the campus, and it doesn't feel like an office park. It's an experience. But I digress. On to what we're really here for, Copilot. Microsoft does not want you to think of Copilot as just a chatbot, and I would have to agree with them for a number of reasons. Let me start by painting you a scenario. You go to your accounting department and you ask them for an analysis of all your contractor spending for the last year. They take their accounts receivable, accounts payable spreadsheet, and they paste it into the free version of ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or any of those. And they ask it for analysis because the workplace moves hyper fast now, and they know you're going to want this analysis probably tomorrow. Well, in that case, if there was any company identifiable information in your spreadsheet, you've now just trained ChatGPT on your business's internal financials. And the competitor that comes along the next day and says, hey, give me whatever you know about company XYZ is going to get more information than you'd probably like them to have. Now, instead of contractor spending, imagine that you asked your accounting department for analysis about staff wages, and they copied in a spreadsheet with a whole bunch of staff information. You see where I'm going. It's just not good. So Microsoft is suggesting a few things. Number one, your company needs an AI policy, and it needs it today. Which AI platforms are you allowed to use, when, and for what sort of data? And number two, and this is the big one for Microsoft, because Microsoft is using Azure OpenAI, which is like ChatGPT engine in a Microsoft chassis, and integrating so closely with your data that's already in their Microsoft 365 secured environment, they're the only AI that can guarantee that when you paste information into their chatbot, you're not sending it out to the general internet. It's going to work off of your data and stay within your tenant. And that is a very compelling and not incorrect argument on why to use Copilot over ChatGPT or any of the other competitors. Now, you may remember that ChatGPT recently released version 5.1, and Microsoft released Azure OpenAI version 5.1 22 minutes later. So it's not like they're a long way behind anymore. They were, like I said last week, they were late to the party, but they're catching up very quickly. Now let's talk about licensing. Up until last week, if you wanted to add Copilot to your business license, it was going to cost you an extra $30 Canadian per month. But as of last week, there are integrated plans for Business Basic, Business Standard, and Business Premium that have Copilot included for an additional $14 per month. For example, if you're using a Business Premium license right now, it costs you $29 per month. But with Copilot, it's now $43 per month. And there are no more Copilot Sales, Copilot Finance, or individual Copilot license distinctions. It's just Copilot. That's a pretty hefty discount. So you want to make sure that if you've already got a Copilot license, that on your renewal, you're changing both your base and your Copilot license to the integrated version. The second takeaway is that every business that I've ever worked with has had at least one or two business processes that are repetitive and fairly simple, but still demand a surprising amount of human intervention. Think about recurring invoice approvals. Someone has to check the details, confirm the amounts, and route it for sign-off, even though the steps rarely ever change. Or consider onboarding a new staff member. There's paperwork, there's system access, there's training links and notifications that all need to happen in the right order. These tasks aren't complicated, but they end up eating time because they involve multiple systems and manual steps in multiple departments. And this is where Microsoft sees the future of Copilot. You can create agents that handle those workflows automatically. Instead of bouncing between apps or chasing approvals, an agent can quietly take care of it all behind the scenes. The future of AI in business, I don't think, is about replacing people. I think it's about removing friction from everyday processes and making it so your team can focus on the work that really kind of moves the needle. But before we can get to any of that, we've got to get AI ready. Before Copilot can become part of your daily work, there are some things we have to cover off. A lot of the discussion last week was emphasizing the security that should come before AI. You need to review your policies around AI, check their access controls, set up conditional access policies, confirm the right licensing, and so on and so forth. If you've been one of the organizations resisting going to a business premium license for the last few years, you're almost undoubtedly not ready for Copilot. Only once all of that is done and the foundation is secure should the focus shift to preparing your team. Who's going to champion the onboarding? Who's going to become the expert? Who's going to teach your staff how to become proficient with prompts and AI? What's the rollout plan? Microsoft does have guidance on all of this. The goal is to start with a secure environment and then build confidence through education and planning. So that's the big picture from our visit. Copilot is secure, it's customizable, and it's available for Business Premium with a clear pricing model now. These updates are going to influence how teams collaborate and make decisions. Business is just going to change over the next few years. If you're curious about how this fits into the future of your work, keep watching this space, or even better, reach out to us in the comments. We've got a great video right up here showing you one of the really neat features of Copilot that will completely change the way you do in-person meetings. So check that out. In the ever-changing IT landscape, be adaptive. See you next time.